if I was to buy something from you online, how did I not keep my money and give it to you if it's digital, right? How does blockchain play into this? How does that work?
Yeah, sure. So I think for our initial platform, we're not trying to tokenize things on the blockchain, but we want to move towards that in this business
Well,
type of investing.
let's define that before we even go down that road. Let's define tokenized and blockchain. Like, what does that mean in the most layman term possible?
Yeah. Okay. So blockchain is basically a way of storing information on something that's called a blockchain. It's a decentralized way in which there's a bunch of different people essentially hosting data and kind of validating it against the data sets that are out there to make sure that, hey, like this is the authentic truth. And so it's basically decentralized storage on a spreadsheet in a way, and you can run different sort of contracts on it. And in terms of tokenization is kind of just in the scenario that we're talking about, it's taking something and representing it as a share or a token on the blockchain. And for what we're doing, there's two different types of tokens. There's utility tokens and there's security tokens. Utility tokens are like Bitcoin or Ethereum. They go up one day, they go down another day. They're not backed by any asset. Security tokens are like digital shares. There's something behind it that's backing it, and that's what we're really interested in the platform at the start. I think there's a lot of use cases for utility tokens, but we're interested in kind of making the investing process more frictionless with security tokens at some point.
Yeah.
And
Mm-hmm.
that's a blockchain technology that would allow us to kind of have digital shares, but on the blockchain. And the benefit of all of that would be that it's the transfer times are pretty much instantaneous for the stock. You don't really need a middleman to run a marketplace. It's
Mm-hmm.
transparent. You can kind of see all the transactions that you want to. It's very secure, and it's very cheap to do those transactions. You can move millions of dollars for cents on the right blockchains. So it's
Yeah.
really the future of investing, and kind of
Oh,
storing
100%.
value online.
Yeah, I love that. And so just to even break it down in a simpler term, like the way I understand it, and again, please correct me if I'm wrong, is for a long time, people tried to figure out the double spend on digital transactions, right? So if I was to buy something from you online, how did I not keep my money and give it to you if it's digital, right? Because with the paper dollar, you
Hmm.
don't have to worry about that because you can just transfer the paper dollar. And for a long time, people couldn't figure that out. And then that's when, and multiple people tried for a long time. And then that was kind of the mathematical miracle of Bitcoin. Was not only was it secure, not only did nobody, it's not centralized, so no one actually holds it. It's decentralized, but it's basically like a ledger that everybody can see what's going on, and there's no double spend. So when I give you my Bitcoin, it's no longer in my wallet and vice versa. And that was the first of its kind to be able to transfer that value, take money out of it, just anything, any piece of information or anything. And so now everybody's been building on top of that. And so what you see coming is an opportunity for people to invest inside of dental on that. And then how does that, when you say these tokens, like how does that tie into that? Like what would I buy? Give me an example of what token I would buy.
Yeah. So there's a couple ways that it could work. You could tokenize different things. And when I say tokenize, I kind of just mean having shares of the company available digitally hosted on the blockchain. You could tokenize a DSO, you could tokenize, and by that I mean you can tokenize the equity in the DSO. So each token represents, let's just say there's 100 tokens and each token represents 1% of the company. You may be entitled to cash flow. You may just, be benefiting when the company sells and exits. There's different ways you can program the tokens. And I think for us, what we want to do is we thought about tokenizing a DSO, and that kind of makes sense that, hey, you could have your own internal market and you can sell. But I think what would make more sense on this platform is we want to raise a fund to invest alongside this platform. So the platform, all the investments would be kind of trickling in, ad hoc, from lots of different people. But we also want to have a fund with the investment thesis of like, hey, DSOs are a great investment. And they're, once they're in a sweet
Yeah.
spot, they really have a lot of room for explosive growth. And we kind of want to make a fund where we can invest alongside the platform and also tokenize that fund. So when we tokenize that fund, what does that mean? That means in traditional venture capital, your fund may be locked up that you've put into the investment for like 10 years. Well, when you tokenize them, you can kind of get this broad exposure to like maybe 10 of the best performing DSOs on this platform. and then you also have the ability to trade in and trade out of your position.
Mm.